Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Happy non-victory Tuesday, I guess, is the greeting for the afternoon. Man, that was a tough watch. It was a tough rewatch, and there ain't no way to sugarcoat it. It was about as ugly as you remembered it being. For those of you who don't spend the day after a game going back and rewatching it obsessively, I envy your life decisions. Now, look, some of it was amazing. Obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, there was a lot to get excited about. The Packers defense came to play on Monday night. However, on the flip side, the offense, I'm not going to say atrocious. I'm not going to say even terrible, but the maddening inconsistency down in and down out from this team is bewildering, to say the least. And it is across the board. It is not one position. It is not one player. It is not one coach. It is everything having to do with the offensive side of the ball at the moment for the Green Bay Packers. And certainly there are plays you can look at and see, oh, hey, here's a way of working. Here's some success. But their inability to string plenty of those together, and that is going to be the, I guess, flashpoint here for the remainder of the 2025 season, because teams are going to continue to do what the Eagles have done, what we saw the Panthers do. Hell, it goes back to week 3 with the Cleveland Browns. You're just going to continue to see this too high shell, soft coverage, keeping everything in front, rally and tackle. The Packers have to figure out a way to attack it outside of we're just going to ram Josh Jacobs into the teeth of the defense 25 times a game. And yes, LaFleur bears some responsibility here as far as his play calling goes. But it's also who's out on the field. It's the assistant coaches running guys in and out for certain situational stuff. It's decisions like keeping Savion Williams on ice until the fourth quarter, probably because you're desperate. You were maybe, I guess, trying to teach him a lesson or put him in the doghouse because he fumbled the week before. I don't know. But the idea that Christian Watson is getting 4 targets in a game, and I guess he's still on a snap count, but he's not out on the field on a 4th and 9 attempt. There's so many components here that leave you frustrated as a fan, and I'm sure there are reasonings and context behind each one of those decisions and things that the coaching staff would tell you why they do certain things or they approach it a certain way. But right now, the sum is certainly not near enough when you're talking about the parts involved. And, the old adage that it's never as bad as it feels in the moment. And it felt bad last night. You go back and you watch it and it still looks pretty bad. Man, that's not to say, again, that there weren't moments and glimpses of success, because there were. There are in almost every NFL game for the most part. When you're getting down into the late stages of the fourth quarter and you still have not scored a single point in an NFL game, you got some serious issues. And of course, that is before you even begin to talk about the kicking situation, the fact that they're passing up 50-plus yard field goals, longer side, 57, 59, etc. But they're passing up those opportunities because their kicker is, by his own admission to the broadcast crew, injured. They have a guy who hit a 61-yarder on the sideline in street clothes. And look, maybe Harvasek goes out and misses it. I understand that, and I could live with that. Because our regular kicker, the guy under contract for the next 3 years, is hurt. Whatever and ever. That's another bewildering conversation to have regarding the Green Bay Packers in 2025. But on the plus side, the defense did ball out. Now, the 2 explosive plays that led to the touchdown, no doubt going to be talked about, going to be dissected over the course of this week. But both of the players involved, by the way, Carrington Valentine giving up that explosive in the flat to Saquon Barkley. And it's a rare corner that's going to make that tackle in open space against that player. And then you look at Evan Williams. You do wonder about the coverage there from the looked like quarters coverage and the design of the play to get Xavier McKinney to kind of commit down, and they run the post behind him. Evans in pretty decent position there. They just make a great play, and that's a great player in the Eagles have receiving the pass from Jalen Hurts. So Smith is great, and it's a great play. But I think if you go back and you watch all the other plays that both of those guys are involved in, Evan Williams in particular, I thought balled out in this game. And I thought Carrington played very well. He came very close to a couple of interceptions. He's the one guy I see on a consistent basis in the secondary trying to make plays on the ball. And of course, you can't say enough about Micah Parsons and all the work the guys up front did, keeping essentially Saquon Barkley under wraps for much of the game in the running game, and the way they handled Jalen Hurts, a guy who can still kill you with his legs if given the opportunity. Never let him get even a hint of work that way, other than one third down conversion. I mean, just a really good night all around from the defense. That essentially was an effort that was wasted by the ineptitude on the offensive side of the ball. But I don't need to tell you guys that. You watch the game. You know I'm here to talk to you guys. I'm much more interested in what you have to say. Before we get to your questions and your comments, you guys know, got to give a shout out to our good friends over at ThetaCare. ThetaCare is a proud sponsor of Cheesehead TV. Before any big game, make sure your health is in championship form. With more than 115 years of trusted care and a team of experts in over 60 specialties, ThetaCare keeps athletes and fans alike game day ready, because winning starts with wellness. Speaking of winning and wellness, here's hoping Matthew Golden's back next week. They need his explosiveness, playmaking ability, run after the catch ability. That was driven home repeatedly watching that game, both live and on replay. All right, what's up? What we got? Hit me with it. Amar gifted a Cheesehead TV membership. Thank you, Amar. Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for the support, and I hope whoever joins us on the Carry the G Club will come join us on a happy hour tonight. That's right, happy hour tonight, 6 Eastern, 5 Central. The information is on the Carry the G Club page here on YouTube and on the Patreon page. Brendan, what's up? What type of offense might work with the current O-line? Man, that is a hour-long video. Thankfully, I have a video coming out after I wrap here that I just recorded with Justice Mosqueda from Acme Packing Company discussing that very subject. Not even joking. So I'm not going to expound too much here, but I will say it's not like the cavalry's coming, and I don't expect LaFleur to change very much as far as his approach goes. But I do think there are small tweaks that can be made to find it a little bit more success. And I will say, as disappointing as the news is that came down right before I went live, that Elton Jenkins has been placed on injured reserve, I suspect he's probably done for the year. Sean Ryan at least looked more than passable in his limited work last night at center. He had a good camp. Here's hoping he gives them a little something in the run game. I do think, obviously, that's his strength. Pass pro has been inconsistent, to say the least. But in the run game, I actually think Ryan could help a little bit. We'll see how that plays out. Chris, thank you for the super chat, sir. 4th down call was just so fucking brutal, man. Inside zone out of the gun with soft coverage outside. Pop a timeout, get reset, and get your best call in. Matt, we need better. Yeah, everything about that play was beyond frustrating. And the fact that this is something that we've seen repeatedly throughout the season, throughout that game. And it's wild that, the Eagles are there pre-snap calling it out. I mean, we're calling it out at home on our sofas. You can bet they know it's coming. And the fact that that's their go-to, and they use it quite a bit in 2-minute drill, short yardage. We know it. The other teams are starting to know it. And that has been a theme talking about this offense today. There's so much that the Packers do almost by rote at this point when it comes to their solutions, quote unquote. You hear Matt talk about a run solution when the numbers are disadvantage up front. So you pop outside in a run solution. Like, teams know what your solutions are at this point. I mean, that 4th down is a very, dramatic example, but it's the kind of thing that's occurring now almost weekly, where they know what they're presenting look-wise, and they know what your reaction to that look is going to be. And also, yeah, as far as time and place. You've got 2 timeouts, and I understand you're under the gun, you're trying to preserve timeouts, but yes, it's 4th and 26 all over again. I know Mike Sherman had just called a timeout. Call another one and make sure everybody's on the same page, and make sure, Chris, to your point, you got the best possible call rather than the thing you run all the time that teams know to expect. Brutal indeed. Simatovic, how you doing, man? I know I should ignore them, but the absolute dumbassery of the national media is incredible. Do any of them actually watch football? J-Lo ain't the problem. Yeah, I saw Canty's clip because it was bandied about on Twitter this morning, talking about how, just basically, trashing Jordan Love. And no, yeah, look, they watch the games casually. Some of them may actually kind of try to actually watch, personnel groups, formations, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Precious few are actually even coming close to looking at the coach's tape of it. But yeah, it's just funny. The national stuff is hilarious to me. You got Micah Parsons clapping back at Colin Cowherd for being a moron. And then you've got Canty ripping on Jordan Love, who, what was it, 3 weeks ago? Everyone was talking about, oh, Jordan Love has propelled himself into the MVP conversation after the job he did out in Pittsburgh. Like the national stuff, I don't really pay any attention to because 98% of it is just blowhards filling time between commercials. That's why Cheesehead TV exists for you. Amar, what's going on, man? I know it didn't look good. Are we seeing regression by Love? No faith in the O-line, bad play calling. We are in week 11 and it's still not fixed. Do we need hard convos about QB1 and coach? This is crazy. What the fuck are we doing? Not about QB1. I think coach is in a tough spot. Certainly he needs to do some adjusting. But no, I mean, I talked about it with Andy on Let's Talk Football today. There's zero doubt. That's the first time this season I've seen him drop his eyes and start looking at the rush, probably prematurely, where more often than not, Jordan has been known to stand in there and fire and make the throw, even though things are falling apart around him. But I don't blame Jordan Love for dropping his eyes and being worried about the rush when you never know who's getting beat this time around. It's tough spot for Jordan. Very tough spot, especially against that team that traditionally has not been a heavy pressure team, but they had Jordan under pressure. I think it was the second most time he's been under pressure so far this year, almost 47% of the time. I mean, that's a hard way to live, hard way to operate. I also think there's something to be said about who he's working with. Yes, he misses some reads, misses some throws, but when you're continuously putting the ball in guys' breadbasket and they're putting it on the ground without securing it, I mean, there's only so much blame you can give a quarterback, right? It's always a mix. It's always a mix. Pat, what's going on, man? I'm not personally hoping Matt LaFleur gets fired as of yet, but he definitely deserves the brutal memeing he's getting today. Yeah, no question about it. When you put it out there and the product is bad, you're going to get harangued on the internet. No doubt about it. Ed, what's up, man? Great D and inconsistent O with questionable calls. Oh, my God. We're turning into the Bears. All right. Relax. Slow down. Slow down. This too shall pass. And I do think, look, some of this will just be as simple as, getting a few guys back. Hopefully Matthew Golden's back in a week or two. You get Jaden Reed back. They're going to look very different on offense. But in the meantime, it would help if Christian Watson became a focal point of the offense rather than a deep complement. There's some adjustments they got to make. There's no doubt about that. Pack Daddy, how are you, man? Don't ask me how I know, but in recovery programs, they say you reach the bottom when you stop digging. Maybe the Pack needs to enter recovery. I mean, that is a hell of an analogy. Kudos. Christopher, how are you, sir? Ton of player issues on offense, but something to be said about Matt LaFleur's conservatism and how that mentally permeates through the roster. Where is the guy that took over from McCarthy and brought a modern offensive approach? Christopher, I kind of touched on this with Andy today, and it's something that's hard to put your finger on. It's not something you can quantify, but it is, to your point, player issues, maybe a product of or permeating from LaFleur. And this is, I admit, a stretch, but the kind of thing I'm thinking of is that first deep shot to Watson, where he looks up at the ball and instead of tracking it and going up and getting it and saying, that's my fucking ball, suddenly he turns into a defensive player because he's worried about the defender rather than just go dominate. That's your ball. And it does feel like so much of what they're doing on offense is that exact mindset. Like, we're so worried about this is what they do, or this might happen if we try to, God forbid, press the issue a little bit, maybe try to attack a little bit more, especially on early downs. Instead, we're ramming Josh Jacobs into a wall at 3.5 yards per carry until, I guess, the earth cools. I just don't know how much more I can take of watching a timid offensive direction. And I think it does somewhat permeate from the top down. That's why it's so kind of, what's the word, invigorating when they do something like in Arizona when they go for it on that 4th and 2, they drag the kicking unit back off the field. But again, last night, it's just bewildering when you've got a 4th and 9 and Christian Watson's on the sideline. Their most dynamic player by far. I don't know, man. I don't know. Travis, how are you, sir? I'm resigning to the fact that LaFleur is burnt out with writer's block. If that's the case, what could the team do behind the scenes to reset this offense? Travis, again, I'll point you to the conversation I had with Justice. It's going to be going live as soon as we're done here. But something they could, potentially do is boot Jordan Love a little bit more, specifically out from under center, which we saw him do just a little bit of last night. Funnily enough, the Packers did this kind of semi-boot to his right. Musgrave releases out. Is at the end of the first half and easy completion for about 8 yards, whatever. They never really got back to that, but the Eagles saw it and did it 3 times later in the game. Like, the Eagles saw it and said, oh, that's a good idea, and they spammed it. Like, they need to manufacture some easier throws for Jordan, especially early in the game. Get him in rhythm. It's impossible as a quarterback to get in rhythm. This goes for the wide receivers, too, who are being run in and out when there's no kind of, commitment to utilizing that part of the game outside of, now it's 3rd down and we need a conversion. You're continuously slamming into a wall in the run game. And I understand trying to stay ahead of the sticks. I understand you want to get them out of that too high shell. But at some point, that is not working. And it's very evident that it's not working. And I think that's most of the frustration that we've seen around the Packers offense right now. Sam, how are you, man? Nags, I know this is an entitled take, but why? Why can't we have a season where everything is working? We finally have a defense, and now we can't score. We'll see how, things transpire over the course of these next 8 games. And certainly the defense continuing to play at this level can't be a given. But the defense should be able to keep them in most games. And that's another component here that is beyond frustrating last night. The fact that despite the fact that they were god awful on offense for 3+ quarters, they still had a chance to win that game. That was a winnable football game, despite the putrid showing on offense. And that's obviously a testament to the defense. There's no doubt that it is frustrating not seeing complimentary football play out week in and week out. But I've said it a lot, and I'll keep saying it. It's what now, mid-November? Still what, early November somewhat, going into mid-November. I'd rather have these problems now than at the end of December. Let's see if they can pick it up here in these next 2 or 3 games and get on a run. Don Vito, what's going on, man? I don't know if this is Eeyore or not, but our fan base has been fucking insufferable since last night. We're a half game out with 8 games left. We're going to be okay. This is what I'm talking about. And I appreciate that perspective because, yeah, there's a lot of games, a lot of football left to be played. And there is zero doubt that it has been frustrating over the course of the last couple weeks, but that is not the season. Like, these 2 games The losses to the Eagles and the Panthers have been as frustrating as, the first 2 games were elating. You got to find an equilibrium at some point. Now, would I love it if the elation was during these last 2 games? Yeah, of course. And we had come out at the start of the season and looked like garbage, and all of a sudden, oh, hey, they're figuring it out. Then the narrative is, oh, the Packers are building towards something, right? They can still do that. But it also reminds you of what a week-to-week league the NFL always is. Michael, what's up, man? That game last night just gave me flashbacks to Rob Schneider and the Waterboy. I'm not even looking forward to Sunday. Yeah, it reminded me of the Mike Pope video, the Browns fan, where he does this 20-minute rant about the Browns and how he's done and can't believe how bad it is and blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, he's like, throughout, he's like, I'm never coming. I'm done, whatever. And then right at the end, I'll see you on Sunday. That's kind of where this week feels like. Ed, what's going on, man? Great teams have fun while maintaining a high degree of excellence. I don't see our offense having any fun. Relax. That's spelled Panic. Yeah, they do need to unclench a little bit. And then you can see that throughout the teams on offense, especially with the drop passes and missed blocks, etc. Jeff, what's up, man? Now is the time, Kevin Green. I believe the quote is, it is time. But regardless, yes, let's channel him. I'm down with this idea. Steve, what's up? Maybe a 24-21 or 27-24 loss would feel better. I mean, that would indicate you had a functional offense for some of the game. Yeah, probably feel a little bit better. Still a loss, though, so it's not like it would feel good. Don Vito. Also, Quay Walker deserves big props for last night. He and Edrin Cooper. Just talked with Andy about that on Let's Talk Football. That was fun to watch. They were both flying around and making plays. That's, I think, the vision that Brian had, talking about Quay being a core part of what they do on defense. He had a really good game. Joe, how are you, sir? I'll bet Ed Policy was hoping the decision to extend Matt LaFleur and Goot would by now be an obvious one. The current trends are making that decision harder. Yeah, but again, he wasn't making any decisions when things were seemingly easy after 2 weeks and everyone was thinking they were Super Bowl bound. He's not making any decisions today on November 11th. He'll let the season play out. Not a hard decision if you're not making it currently. He doesn't have to make any decisions till the end of the season. And even then, I know he talked about not wanting lame ducks. Maybe he gives them each a year extension and really drives Packers fans absolutely insane so we can do this all again, narrative-wise, conversation-wise, for another fucking season. Boy, that'll be fun. Cam Wood, how are you? I guess it's nice to not have high expectations for 2025 anymore after those 2 duds. Let's see if the offense can surprise us the rest of the way. Yeah, it's possible. Maybe they go on a run. Maybe they shock the world. I would settle for a first quarter touchdown. That's where I'm at. My girlfriend can back me up. I said to her last night, right before the game started, she's like, are you excited? I said, all I want is a touchdown early on offense. So that didn't happen. We'll see. Exciting times. But yes, the various bars of excitement are for the setting here. Fernando. Damn, now I know why Rodgers was always changing plays at the line. I kid. Yeah, I remember teasing Rodgers about that on Zoom back in the day, about the second down calls in particular, But yeah, the second down runs are killing me. They're just killing me, man. In fact, most of the early down calls are killing me. It's really tough sometimes. John Moore, how are you, sir? 3 years and still scared to let Love throw it. Love missed some throws, but that is mostly due to no rhythm. I agree, John. That's why I was saying help him early in these games get into a rhythm. You throw in 3 passes in a quarter while your running back gets 12 carries. I don't know, man. I don't know. Brian, how are you, sir? Thank you. I'm conflicted because on one hand, I don't know who can change this team at the head coach. At the same time, see, Indy and New England are doing more with less talent. I think Indy's got a boatload of talent. I don't know what you're talking about there, but New England, they've got a quarterback, certainly. And their coach has forgotten more than most people will ever know about defensive football. But yeah, it is sometimes stark what that change can do. But there's also plenty of examples where guys show up and they're heralded as the, new voice and going to change the direction, and it never takes. How long did it take Aaron Glenn to get his first win? There's no sure thing. Mike, what's up? Hey, Nags, why should I have any hope going forward with this offense? I was mad last night, but now I just kind of expect us to struggle every game. Thanks, Coach Eyebrows. Ugh. Well, don't have hope. That's my advice to you, Mike. Lean into Eornus, and then whenever they do anything well, you can be pleasantly surprised. You're welcome. Matthew, sir, how are you? Evening all and Nags, 14 more points in the relevant games, and we'd be 9-0. Is it too soon to say trust the process? And always, I said, you got to lose 3, tie 1 to finish 13-3-1. Go Pack, go. Matthew, your ever-present optimism is a gift, and I appreciate it. Nash, how are you, sir? Hey, Nags, you think Nixon not returning kicks is a Nixon problem or coaching? Appreciate the therapy. Wicks kind of killed it last night. Outside of that drop towards the end, yeah, I do think Wicks had a decent night. But the Nixon thing, no idea, man. We did hear what he said at the end of last year. He's done being a returner, blah, blah, blah. And then we get to camp and, that was just Nixon talking, and he's still going to run kicks back in practice, blah, blah, blah. But they certainly haven't put him out there in games. I do think he'd help jumpstart stuff. Though, look at the the very first return. Williams had a decent return, set him up in good field position. But yeah, the Nixon thing, every decision they make on special teams is pretty curious. I'll say that. Jake, thank you, sir. Invested time to see if that was a smart decision. Invested O-line time to see if it was a smart decision. Jake, I'm not entirely sure what you're saying there, buddy. I'm sorry. Hey, Professor, really need the next game to get here fast. Well, thank God that was on a Monday night, so, we got one less day to wait. There you go. Abdul, how are you, sir? Hey, Aaron, did Jenkins play his last snap with the Packers? Let Abdul bring it, baby. If there's something tough, negative, what have you to talk about, Abdul will go there. The short answer is probably, and it sucks to say that. And I had some people ask, earlier, when the Packers announced that they had placed him on injured reserve, like, is that designated to return? There is no more designated to return. That hasn't been a thing now for a couple years. You can bring up to 8 guys back during the season. And he could be one of those 8. I think they've done it, twice. They brought 2 back so far. 1 back. I doubt it. It doesn't sound good. The prognosis, last night, Matt talking at the podium saying it didn't look good, all the reporting around it. I'd be very surprised if he's back this season. And then, there's a very good possibility the Packers move on this offseason, which absolutely sucks. Michael, what's up, man? What happened to Jordan Love? That first year starting, he was on point. Everyone was saying he's him. He's been far too inconsistent this season and last. Well, it would help if the offensive line helped him at all, and if the running game was anywhere near as effective as it was in 2023, which is what I always talk about as far as the best way to help your quarterback is with an efficient and effective running game. But that has not occurred this year. It's hard to do it all yourself as a quarterback. I mean, how many times did he drop the ball last night? I get it. And as I said earlier, he's dropping his eyes last night, and that's the first time we've seen that. But it's hard to blame him when there's, leaky protection, and you never know where that leak's coming from. It sounds cliche, and it sounds like coach talk, but it's 1,000,000,000% correct. He is one of 11 guys on the field. He needs other people around him to do their job so he can do his job at a high level. And here's the other thing. On balance for this season, he's been outstanding. He has been excellent. Now, you may not see the 2023 guy, but he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the league, down in and down out, in 2025. He certainly had a couple of boneheaded decisions or plays, no doubt about it. But the totality of his work in 2025 has been excellent. He needs some help, though. He needs some help. Every good quarterback does. Jose, what's up? When did the complacency start? Since Jordan's injury, hope they can turn this thing around. Go Pack, go. Complacency. I don't know, man. Jordan's injury, you're talking about last year when they had Malik Willis, who had been in the building for a month, come in and help them win 2 games? I don't know about complacency there, my dog. G. David, what's going on, man? It's weird, but I find myself questioning so much about what this team does to prepare during the week under Matt LaFleur. He's good at a lot of things, but week in, week out preparation, I just don't know. Yeah, what's odd is you don't really see them do much that you haven't seen the week before, right? And that goes both to the good and the bad. Like, the inconsistencies, but the types of plays, how they approach, trying to convert on third down or try to generate explosives. Like, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot that's different from week to week. That's disconcerting. Let's say that. Abdul, thanks again. What O-line combo would you start next week? Great question. Me, Aaron Nagler, head coach. I'd probably go Walker at left tackle. Then, Banks at left guard, begrudgingly. Then Ryan at center. I'd probably put Kennard at guard and Zach Tom at tackle. I don't think that's what they're going to do. They're going to play Jordan Morgan at right guard. I don't think Morgan's a guard. I think he should be playing tackle. But I don't think that's going to happen until Walker's gone next season. GP, what's up? I thought Micah played well last night. Still don't understand the slander against him. He gave Mailata a full plate. Oh, dude. Parsons was incredible last night. Anybody talking about, a lack of sacks or looking at the box score can get bent and doesn't know ball and can be safely set to ignore for the rest of your life. He was a major component of that defense holding down the Eagles the way they did. He was excellent. He was excellent last night. GP. Also, Harvasek is on the 53. I don't get it. You and me both, brother. I am completely mystified. Speaking of which, Mike says, why not activate Harvasek just for longer field goals? I'm usually not this type of fan, but do you think the reason why McManus has been activated is money related? Just a thought. I mean, Matt doesn't care about his contract. He wants a guy who can make kicks. Bisaccia doesn't care about his contract. He wants a guy who can make kicks. I mean, maybe Brian's pushing on them. Go, hey, look, we signed this guy to a contract. But I don't think so. That just doesn't make any sense. That just feels bent from reality. As far as activating Harvasek for the longer field goals, teams have done it in the past. And hell, I believe the Packers are the only team in the NFL currently that has 2 kickers on their 53-man roster. Why not make use of it, right? Not the world's worst idea. Austin, what's going on, man? Nags, the Packers need to address offensive line this offseason and get an actual center. But I have hope for the rest of the season. Go Pack, go. Austin, if that's going to happen, it's going to have to go through the draft. And they have been now the last 2 centers they've looked to become their long-term answer, one of 2, right? They hit on Corey Linsley. They whiffed on Josh Myers. Hopefully a third time's a charm, and they find another long-term keeper. But that does mean they'll have to probably use a day 2 pick because they can't use a first-round pick. But they're going to have to use a premium pick to do it. And you're not wrong, though. You're not wrong. They do have to figure center out. Absolutely. Ben, what's up? Nags, I don't have anything really intelligent to say. I just hope they get things squared away. Appreciate what you do. Ben, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Soder, how are you, brother? They need Jaden Reed back in the worst way. This thing went off the rails when he broke his collarbone. You're not lying, man. But it also happened to coincide with that Browns game where, Jim Schwartz went against every fiber of his being and just said, okay, let's play too high and make them earn it all game long. And since then, it's been an issue. Now, does Jaden Reed fix that? Maybe a little bit. I don't think a ton, though. Mike, what's up, man? I am happy about one thing. After last night, there is a lot more EORs coming on my side. I can't even imagine if we lose to the ghost of Russell Wilson Sunday. No doubt about it. But like I said last night on Twitter, man, I'm a Packers fan. I'm rooting for them to win. I'm rooting for them to figure it out. I'm certainly not rooting for them to crash and burn. I can't live that way. Eric, what's up? Any new observations after rewatching the game? Plenty that I talked about with Justice and Andy today. Highly encourage you check those out because there's plenty to talk about when it comes to the offense and the frustrations there, but I don't want people to lose sight of how well they played on defense yesterday. They were out fucking standing on defense in that game. That's championship level defense that they played last night. A wasted effort, unfortunately, but it was excellent. Johnny, what's going on, man? The Micah trade immediately gave me visions of us bringing Lombardi home. I was a child of summer then. Now my heart and mood are winter. Sigh. Go back. Go. Feeling like a Game of Thrones moment right there. Andrew Ware, how are you, buddy? Maybe it wasn't just 12 that avoided the middle. I mean, they had opportunities in the middle, and he hit some throws over the middle. But he also had pressure in his face when they were trying to do other stuff down the middle. So, I mean, they attacked the middle of the field probably a little bit more than usual last night. Austin, what's going on, man? I know he was limited in practice last week, but how was 16 on the field way more than 83 on offense if Savion was cleared and played special teams? Austin, I said at the top, bewildering decisions there as far as personnel usage. The only thing I can think, and I don't know, I think Pete may have asked Matt kind of indirectly about this, but it felt like Savion was in the doghouse for his fumble last week. But you'll notice that you get to the fourth quarter and suddenly they're trying like every gadget play known to man. They're not real gadget plays. They're in the playbook, whatever. But they're trying the Savion plays suddenly in the fourth quarter of a game where they have not done a damn thing on offense. And it was like, okay, you're out of the doghouse now. Come help save us. Like, I don't know. Maybe Matt will get asked about it tomorrow, but yeah, it felt like basically punishment for that fumble against the Panthers. I don't know how else to read it because he's infinitely better than everybody else who was playing in front of him, other than maybe Christian Watson. Like, I get he's not polished. I get he's not perfect, but damn, used a third-round pick on the kid, and he's got all sorts of potential. He's not doing anything with it sitting on the sideline in a game where you can't score a fucking point until the fourth quarter. William, how you doing, man? I was listening to Chamura this morning, and he was talking about Holmgren saying back in the day, you let the little things go, they get to be bigger problems. Is that something you think is happening? Possibly. It's really impossible to say, not being in the locker room, not being in the meeting rooms, not being on the practice field, at least especially when they're actually working on stuff and not just, allowing reporters to take attendance. It's really hard to say. And Chewy's obviously well-versed and knows the inner workings of a locker room and a team and what have you. And that is absolutely right. I remember Holmgren saying that. But, without any kind of inner workings and knowledge of the actual interactions and workings of the day-to-day, it's really hard to say. We see what we see every Sunday on the football field, but all the work that goes in Monday through Saturday, we're not privy to any of it. So it's a very real possibility. I'm not discounting it or dismissing it, but without any direct knowledge of it, it's hard for me to pontificate on. Zach, thank you for becoming a Carry the G Club member. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the support. Sean, thank you for the super chat. 2 Minute has always been fun in Green Bay, especially the focus in the offseason, but can't help but feel our situational football has suffered recently. Boy, you're not wrong, man. And, the 2 minute thing is wild because it was just so frustrating after a night of frustration where, oh, you mean they start going 2 minute hurry up and utilize play action and they're moving the ball? Come out in that just one time. I am begging you. Just once. You don't have to do it every week. You don't have to make it your main focus on offense. You don't have to become the base part of your playbook, but do something different. And usually when they go that route, they do tend to start to move the ball. Do something. to mix it up early in these games because the approach at the moment has got you stuck, without question. Braden, thank you, sir. Toyota-thon was canceled due to tariffs. I'm fine if Love throws more picks, if the upside will be more TDs. Let Love throw and build his confidence up. Wow, you got all of it with that super chat there, Braden. Well done. Neil Flynn, not to be confused with the genius songwriter Neil Finn. Neil Flynn, thank you for the super chat. Compared to the 1976 Bucks, the Packers offense is firing on all cylinders. Hey, if that's the bar, man, I'll take it, right? That's it. Let's compare ourselves to the most inept teams in history. Well, we're not doing so bad then. I know it's not. I get the joke. I agree. I hear you. Appreciate it. All right. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate all the chats, the engagement. Mike getting in under the wire here. Last one. Schneidman says Matt LaFleur is squarely on hottest the next. I think you mean hot seat the next 2 months. Who knows? Matt LaFleur gets fired and the Giants hire him. He could be your neighbor next. Long way away. And no, he'd be all those guys. They live out in Jersey. That's where the stadium is. That's where their practice facility is. No, precious few of them actually live in Manhattan, let alone out here in Queens. So he would be a long way away. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Please do me a monster favor. Hit like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. Patreon members, Carry the G Club members. Like I said, happy hour starts in 20 minutes. I'll see you there. Everybody else, please hit like, hit subscribe. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Cheesehead TV. We are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great night. Go Pack Go.